So now let's continue with our review. So in this problem, it says solve the inequality x squared plus 7x is greater than negative 12. So I'm going to start off by pretending this is an equation and then solving to find the values of x. So to solve a quadratic, I need to set it equal to 0. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to solve this quadratic by factoring. So I'm going to call this a, b, and c. And notice that my c equals 12. So I need two numbers that multiply to 12. But those numbers need to add up to 7. So 1 and 12 is 13, 2 and 6 is 8, but 3 and 4 will work. So I have x plus 3 times x plus 4 equals 0. So I have x plus 3 equals 0 and x plus 4 equals 0. So now if I set each of these equal to 0, I have x equals negative 3 and x equals negative 4. So since I'm solving an inequality, I'm going to use these points to create boundaries on a number line. So I'm going to put negative 4 here and negative 3 here. So notice that these values divide my number line into 3 parts. So I'm going to pick a test value from each region and use that to see if that region contains solutions to my inequality. So in region 1, I'm going to pick negative 5. So I have negative 5 squared plus 7 times negative 5 is greater than negative 12. So that gives me 25 minus 35 is greater than negative 12, which tells me that negative 10 is greater than negative 12, which is true. So region 1 is good. In region 2, I'm going to pick a point like, let's say, negative 3.5. So I have negative 3.5 squared, and then plus 7 times negative 3.5 is greater than negative 12. So 3.5 squared plus 7 times negative 3.5, I'm just doing that on my calculator, that gives me negative 12.25. So that tells me negative 12.25 is greater than negative 12, which is false, so region 2 does not contain solutions. Region 3, let's pick a point from there. That goes from negative 3 to positive infinity, so I can pick a point like 0. So I have 0 squared plus 7 times 0 is greater than negative 12. So that tells me that 0 is greater than negative 12, which is true. So region 3 does contain solutions. So region 1, which is negative infinity to negative 4, and region 3, which is negative 3 to positive infinity, does contain solutions. So that's answer choice C. So now in this problem, it says which graph is represented by this function. So let's see how it's been transformed from the parent. So it has plus 2, which is a value of h. So since it's a plus 2, that's going to be shifted to the left 2. So it's going to be shifted left 2. Minus 3 is a k, and since it's a minus, it's going to go down 3. So left 2 and down 3. Notice that answer choice A includes the graph that is shifted left 2 and down 3 from the parent. So that is answer to this question. So in this problem, it says that Heather and Joel bought a house for $157,200. And they notice the house increases in value every year. They keep track of their house and model the data with the exponential equation given here. How much is the house worth in 8 years? So 8 years tells us a value of t that we can plug into this equation. So we have y equals 150,000 times 1.004 to the 12 times 8. So that's y equals 150,000 times 1.004. 12 times 8 is 96. So I can just go ahead and type this in my calculator. I have 150,000 times 1.004. And then I hit the caret button and then type 96. And then when I hit enter, it gives me the value $220,053. And so we can round that to $220,000. So here it says in 2007, the population of Cartersville was 24,455. The population growth can be represented by this formula. X represents the number of years after 2000. When will the population first exceed $30,000? So we want to use this formula to figure out when the population will go past 30,000. So we're going to say P equals 30,000. And so that gives us 30,000 equals 24,455 times 1.03 to the x. So now notice this is an exponential equation that we need to solve. So we're going to work on isolating the exponential term. So to isolate it, we need to divide both sides by 24,455. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so that gives me 30,000 divided by 24,455. And so that's like 1.22674. And that equals 1.03 to the x. So now what I need to do is solve this exponential equation. So I'm going to take the log of both sides. You can take log or natural log, whatever you prefer. And that equals a log of 1.03 to the x. So now we can use the power rule to bring this x down in front. So that means we have the log of 1.22674 equals x log 1.03. So what we can do now is divide both sides by the log of 1.03 and use that to solve for x. So now what we need to do, these two log of 1.03 will cancel. So we have the log of 1.22674 and then hit enter, divided by the log of 1.03. And that gives us 6.9. So I'm just going to go ahead and round that to 7 years. And notice that is the number of years after 2007. So 2007 and then 7 years later is going to be the year 2014. So that's going to be answer choice A. So that's how you figure out the solution to this problem. So now in this one, it says write 4 to the x equals 1024 in logarithmic form. So remember the base is going to be the same. So we have the log base 4, right? So 4 to the x equals 1024. So the log base 4 of 1024 equals x, which is answer choice B. So in this problem, it wants us to convert the log of 4x equals 3 into exponential form. Remember that the log is the log base 10. So it's the log base 10 of 4x equals 3. So if we convert it to exponential form, that is going to be 10 to the third equals 4x. So that is answer choice A. So in this problem now, it says to solve the equation and round your answer to the nearest thousandths. So since this is an exponential equation, I'm going to solve by taking the log of both sides. So I have the log of 3 to the x equals the log of 51. So I can use the power rule to bring this x down here. So I have x log 3 equals log of 51. And then I can divide both sides by the log of 3 to solve for x. So when I do that, I end up with x equals, and then I have the log of 51, enter, divided by log of 3, and that gives me 3.579, which is answer choice B. So now let's try solving this equation and round to the nearest thousandth. So we have e to the x minus 3 equals 34. Whenever we have an e, we want to take the natural log because that's going to undo that base of e. And remember, we have to do that to both sides. So this x minus 3 is all the exponents. So I'm going to bring that down in front. So I have x minus 3 times ln e equals ln 34. So the natural log of e is just 1, so that term is going to cancel itself out. So I have x minus 3 equals ln 34. And then to solve for x, I'm going to go ahead and add 3 to both sides. So I end up with x equals 3 plus the natural log of 34, which I'm going to do on my calculator. I have 3 plus natural log 34. And then when I hit enter, I get 6.526. So that is answer choice C. So in this problem, it says, what's the effect on the graph of f of x equals x cubed when it's changed to g of x equals x cubed plus 9? The plus 9 is a value of k, so that is going to be a shift up. So we're going to translate 9 units up. So here it says the graph of f of x equals the cube root of x is given, which equation will translate at 3 units left and up 2 units. Okay, so 3 units left is going to be when you have an x plus h situation. So this is going to become the cube root of x plus 3. And then up 2 units is going to be when we have a plus k. So we're going to do the plus 2 on the end. So that is going to match answer choice B. So here it wants us to solve for x. We have a cube root equation. Whenever we have a cube root equation, we want to start off by isolating the cube root. So I'm going to do that by subtracting 6 from both sides. Now I have the cube root of 3x equals 18 minus 6, which is 12. Now I need to undo the cube root by cubing both sides. So I have 3x equals, and then 12 cubed. I'm going to do that on my calculator. 12 to the third power, that is 1728. Now to solve for x, I need to divide both sides by 3. So when I do that, I end up with x equals 576. So that is answer choice B. So in this problem, it says which absolute value equation matches the graph shown here. So notice that the graph has been shifted up, let's see, 1, 2, 3 units from the original parent function. So that is going to be a plus k of plus 3. So that's going to be answer choice D, right? The absolute value of x plus 3. So what is the effect on the graph of the function f of x equals the absolute value of x when it's transformed to g of x equals the absolute value of x minus 5? X minus 5 is a value of h. Notice that it is going to be a shift to the right. So it's going to go to the right 5 units. So here it says, what's the effect of the graph of the function when it is transformed to 1/3 absolute value of x? 1/3 is a value of a. 1/3, if we look at the absolute value of 1/3, that is a number that is less than 1. So that is going to be a vertically compressed function. So here we want to solve this absolute value equation for x. So remember, whenever we're solving absolute value equations for x, we want to get the absolute value term by itself. So I'm going to do that by adding 5 to both sides. So when I do that, I get the absolute value of 2x plus 4 equals 11. Remember, absolute values will now have two solutions. You can have 2x plus 4 equals 11, or you can have 2x plus 4 equals negative 11. So now we just solve these equations. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So I have 2x equals 11 minus 4, which is 7, and then divide by 2, which gives me x equals 3.5. Here on the right side, I can subtract 4 from both sides once again, and then I'm going to get 2x equals negative 15. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And so that gives me x equals negative 7.5. So the correct solution is C, x equals 3.5 and x equals negative 7.5. So in this problem, it says to solve the absolute value inequality and choose a solution from the number line shown. So this is an inequality that's in the form x is less than or equal to p. So we're going to write it as this one compound inequality and solve. So this is going to turn into negative 1 is less than or equal to 2x minus 9, which is less than or equal to 1. So to solve this, remember what I can do is I can add 9. So I'm going to add 9 everywhere. And when I do that, I end up with negative 1 plus 9, which is 8, less than or equal to 2x, less than or equal to 1 plus 9, which is 10. Now I can divide everything by 2. So when I do that, I have 8 over 2, which is 4, less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 10 divided by 2, which is 5. So notice that these are both less than or equal to, so I need two filled in endpoints at 4 and 5, right? And it's a compound inequality, so it's going to shade everything in the middle. So the solution that matches is going to be answer choice D. So in this problem, it says, what's the effect on the graph of the function f of x equals 1 over x when it is transformed to the function g of x equals 1 over x minus 3? So notice that what I've done here is I've added an x minus 3. So that is going to be a horizontal shift to the right. So it is going to go to the right 3 units. So here it says the graph of f of x equals 1 over x is vertically stretched by a factor of 9 and shifted to the right 5 units. Which function represents the graph? Okay, so vertical stretch is going to be an absolute value of a greater than 1. So that means that a is going to be 9. Okay, so that's going to be my vertical stretch. So I have g of x equals 9 over, and then it's shifted to the right 5 units. Shift right is when you have x minus h, so that is going to be x minus 5. So the answer is B, it's going to be 9 over x minus 5. So in this problem, it says a mechanic bought tools for $180 from a hardware store. The store offers 3 free tools along with the order. If x is the average price of a tool in dollars, the number of tools y can be modeled by the equation y equals 180 over x plus 3. How many tools does he receive if the average price in his toolkit is $30? So average price is the value of x, right? So we're going to go to this equation, y equals 180 over x plus 3, and we're going to plug in 30 for x. So now all we need to do is simplify to find the value of y. So we have y equals 180 over 30, which is 6. We have 6 plus 3, so that's going to be y equals 9. So it's going to be C, which is 9 tools. So in this problem, it says to solve the rational equation given here. So remember, whenever we solve rational equations, we want to start off by factoring anything we can factor. So I see the denominator, which I can factor. I have x squared plus 3x minus 4, right? So I have A, B, and C. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor that. So I need two factors that multiply to -4 that are going to add up to 3. So factors of -4 are 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. Since b is positive, I'm going to make my bigger factor positive, right? Because I need a positive and a negative. I'm going to make the bigger factor positive, smaller factor negative. -1 and 4 does add up to 3, so I don't need these factors. So my factors are going to be x minus 1, x plus 4. So now I have my -12 over x minus 1 times x plus 4 equals 2 over x plus 4. So what I'm going to do now is figure out the LCD. So the LCD is going to require a factor from each denominator. So I have x minus 1, and then I have x plus 4. X plus 4 is repeated over here, so I don't need to write it twice. So to get rid of all these fractions, I'm going to multiply both sides by my LCD. So I have x minus 1 times x plus 4, and I'm going to multiply that over here also, x minus 1 times x plus 4. So what happens is here, this will cancel, all of this cancels. So on the left side, all I have is -12, and that equals, here x plus 4 and x plus 4 cancel. I have 2 times x minus 1. So now I'm going to distribute this 2. So I have now -12 equals 2x minus 2. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So I have -10 equals 2x. I'm going to divide both sides by 2, which gives me -5 equals x. So that is how I get the answer, which is answer B. So now in this problem, it says which expression is equivalent to 3 minus 8i times 4 plus I. So if you want to, you can just type this in your calculator, and your calculator will give you the answer. Okay, so if you want to do it that way, you can. Or you can use FOIL to do it algebraically. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. You do first, outside, inside, and last. Okay, so first times first is going to be 3 times 4, which is 12. Outside is going to be 3 times I, which is 3i. Inside is going to be -8i times 4. And so that is going to be -32i. And then last is going to be -8i times I, which is -8i squared. Okay, remember that I squared is -1, so you have -8 times -1, which is going to be +8. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add up all our terms. So we have 12 plus 3i minus 32i plus 8. So I'm going to put the 12 and 8 together because those are like terms that'll combine. And I'm going to put my plus 3i minus 32i together because those will combine. 12 plus 8 gives me 20. 3i minus 32i gives me minus 29i. Okay, so 20 minus 29i is going to be C, which is the solution to this problem. So in this question, it says to add the polynomials, we have 2x squared plus 7x plus 10 plus x squared plus 2x minus 9. So these two polynomials are in standard form, so I'm just going to write them out. So I have 2x squared plus 7x plus 10, and I'm going to write them so that my like terms will line up, because like terms will only combine with each other. So I have 2x squared and x squared, that's a 1x squared. 2x squared plus 1x squared is 3x squared. 7x plus 2x, that is going to be plus 9x. Plus 10 minus 9, that's going to be plus 1. So that is going to be answer choice A.